good to see you today. I have a quick video today to go through the different terms we use and the elements of argument and argumentative writing. I've put this video together to help us all have a common understanding of the vocabulary we use in argument and argumentative writing to make it easier for all of us. So we're going to start off with claim, thesis, and position. If you see me constantly looking over here to the side, it's because I have a post-it note with all of my notes written on it to make sure I don't forget anything. So claim, thesis, and position. So your claim in your writing, this is what you're trying to prove. So what is it that you're trying to prove? What is your statement, your claim, so to speak? Your thesis, this is your assertion or the main idea of your paper. You are asserting that this claim is to be true, to be believed, proven, so to speak. You might also hear position. This is your take, so to speak. This is your take on the issue or the problem. That is the approach that you're taking, the position that you're taking to this particular issue. Y-O-U. So you often hear all of those things, claim, thesis, position, kind of going together, and sometimes they do get a little bit convoluted. So the next section of things that you often hear get all convoluted, so to speak, are reasoning, evidence, or supports, and warrant. So let's talk through these for a little bit. Reasoning, evidence, and my marker is evidence and supports and warrant. And in case you're wondering, warrant is spelled with 2 R's and an A, not an E. People seem to misspell that one all the time, including me when I'm writing quickly. That's the correct spelling. So let's talk through reasoning, evidence, and warrant. So reasoning, this is your logical connections between your claim and your evidence. So, but this is how you're explaining out what the relationship, what the connections are between reasoning, claim and evidence. How are those two things connected? And how your evidence supports your claim. So your evidence or your support, so to speak, this is your information. This is what you're using to support your claim. So information, facts, details, narrative, so on and so forth, the things that support your claim. Your warrant is the idea of how your claim and your evidence are connected. So what's the relationship between these things? And the why. This over here, so it's supporting, we want to know the how and the why over here in warrant. that makes sense. You might hear words like, what are your justifications? What are your supports? As I said, evidence and supports, supporting details, that is your evidence. Justifications. Well, justifications here may refer to your reasoning, and it may refer to your warrant, just depending on how the word is being used. It's not a very good arrow, but you get the idea. Justifications really kind of applies into there. It's most often your reasoning is your justifications, but your warrant can definitely fall into that justifications is used. Justifications is much more a broader term than when we talk specifically in argumentative writing about reasoning and warrant. So, quick thing on evidence. Just going to create another piece over here. There are different types of evidence that I was trying to explain a little bit underneath here. You've got facts, you've got judgments, which judgments might also be your assumptions. You might have testimony. So testimony is going to be your narratives and other people's stories, whether it's the first person telling their own experience, giving testimony, or it is someone retelling someone else's story as a support for the argument for their position. Judgments and assumptions, those are not always measurable, but we need to acknowledge what assumptions we're making or what judgments we're making on value arguments, so to speak. And then facts, y'all know what the facts are, hopefully, by now. So those are different kinds of evidence. So quick one on other terms to know. Let's see how we do with this one. So assumptions, as I said before, these are things that we assume to be true. We're not giving any additional evidence. We're just going to say, for the purpose of this paper, for the purpose of this argument, we're going to acknowledge that this is true, or we assume this to be true. So simply things. You might hear the term common ground. Sometimes in argument, common ground is what we're trying to get to. We're trying to get to a place where we can mutually agree upon a compromise or an agreed on position that we all can support. We all can agree to this thing. So I've just put mutually agreed to position or conclusion for the benefit of all parties. So common ground is what you can all agree on. You might hear counter-argument, and you've probably heard us talk about counter-argument throughout this semester. So counter-argument, counter-argument is just an acknowledgement of the different positions that might exist in addition to yours, or different reasoning processes, but somebody might have made a claim or an assertion and it is different from yours. You need to acknowledge their arguments, their positions, and then nullify it or explain why your idea is better. you may hear a term, did we do qualifiers yet? We have not done qualifiers yet. So qualifiers. Qualifiers are not what you assume them to be. Qualifiers are how you hedge your bet in argument. The idea that you are acknowledging that this cannot be 100% of the time, but in most cases, so you're hedging your bet with that kind of a limit to your argument. This might be where you explain the circumstances when and when it may not be relevant or appropriate. So what are the circumstances when this does or does not apply? When we get to a conclusion in our arguments, we may hear words like implications or discussion or results or outcome. Again, these are connected ideas, but not necessarily the same thing. So let's go through this. We'll just put outcomes here. Actually, it would be better. Let's put outcomes here, and then we'll talk about results separately. So implication, discussion, outcomes, and results. So if we're doing an experiment or some kind of a study, we're going to talk about the results of our study. So this is the data that you found. This is your information. That green marker is not wanting to work. So results, what we determined. I'm just going to put EXP. EXP means experiment. So this results are what we determined from our experiment. This is what we found out. That's our results. Now, implications, discussion, outcomes. These implications and discussion are the outcomes. So our implications and discussion, this is where we talk about, these are sections in a research paper if we were presenting our argument or our research. This is what we should do as a result of our findings. Our findings are our results. Results, findings, same thing. I probably should put that there too. Since we keep using these terms interchangeably. Yeah, so now that we found out this answer, what do we do with this information? That's where you do implications and discussion. Outcomes are those pieces of information that are actionable. So outcomes, we're just going to say actionable, action results. Now that we come to this conclusion, these results, these findings, we know we can take an action to create a change or do something better or make a difference. So in research and in an argument, we say those are our outcomes. We know this, now we can do something with it. So that's outcomes. And then implications and discussion is where we talk about what we're going to do. So this throughout here We've outlined lots of different terms that you find in argument, in argumentative writing, in research. All of these pieces are interconnected, and I hope spelling them out like this today and trying to explain the connections between these terms and how some are interchangeable makes this process a little bit easier for you. Thanks, have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon.